Hey guys, I'm back. It is almost Alfredo, chicken Alfredo time. I have my chicken cut up, so I let that rest 5 minutes after I took it off the grill to let the juices reabsorb so the chicken's not dry. And I just cut it into pieces. That was one huge chicken breast that I bought and marinated. Now generally I would do like a garlic chicken breast or something like that, but I happen to have Parmesan marinated. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's a pretty good fit for chicken Alfredo. I have my garlic minced, and I found a recipe online that looked pretty good. There was a young man who was making this online. I thought, we'll try that one. Charlie's garlic bread is looking delicious, and he is helping by doing dishes, which he is so nice about doing for me quite often. So I'm just gonna start this butter. I threw just 2 sticks of butter, which would be a cup, because the basic recipe is a 1/2 cup butter. So that would be 1 stick. So I threw 2 sticks in, and now I'm gonna do 2.5 cups heavy whipping cream, which I've already shaken up. This stuff has kind of become a commodity because, you know, to make ice cream and tons of recipes, heavy whipping cream is necessary. So I just dump that in. And I don't want to throw my pasta noodles in just yet because I don't think it's going to take them very long to cook, and I don't want to change the timing of this recipe. But I haven't made it, so you have to excuse me while I flip back and forth here. So heavy whipping cream. And since I'm doubling it, that's 2.5 cups and a cup of butter. And it says stir it till it's melted over medium. So I'm at medium, and I'm gonna stir this. And then it says once it gets to medium, increase it just a little bit and let it simmer for 3 to 4 minutes. And then turn it off, throw the Parmesan in, the thyme, the salt and pepper, and it's done. It's good to go. So I'm thinking my noodles, since they're fresh, they were just made, this probably won't take but maybe 5 minutes to cook. And then an interesting thing, and I've never done this, I've made Alfredo quite a few times before, but this recipe is new for me. And a suggestion that they made that I've never done is take the pasta water after the pasta is boiled in it, before you drain the noodles. Take a cup of it, and then whenever you're emulsifying and trying to thin your sauce down after you've thrown the noodles into your Alfredo, if it's too thick and gunky, all you have to do is throw a little bit of that pasta water in, and it thins it out, which is very clever. I guess it would add more starch to it, but it's not gonna vary the flavor, and it would have a thicker consistency because of the starch. So, are you trying to avoid being videoed?
I don't want to show everybody how to do dishes.
I know.
There's an art
I
to
know,
it.
that's the downside. If you cook, there's dishes to be cleaned.
I do not want to show my drying technique, nor my washing technique.
All right, so I'm back to stirring this. You can see I made a little bit of a mess on the counter. And the garlic, mincing that up. It looks like a ton of garlic, but I love garlic. Garlic's a natural antibiotic. It's also a natural diuretic. So if you have issues with water retention, I know, for those of us who are over 50, whenever you start getting dependent edema, from sitting behind your desk or whatever you're doing, a lot of people will just go and take something to take that fluid off, and they get that from their doctor. But garlic, if you eat foods with garlic in it, it does the same thing. It will take that extra fluid off, and you don't have to get medication. So, a watch pot never boils, and that one's boiling. And this one, I think it's ready to go up in temperature. They said until the butter is melted, and then it can go up a little bit till it starts simmering, simmer 3 to 4 minutes, take off the heat, throw in the Parmesan. Now the Parmesan, I generally will grate my own Parmesan, but I bought some at Sam's Club, and not to ditch on Sam's, but I didn't like it. I thought the taste was off. So for the moment, because I haven't gotten any Parmesan from anywhere else to be able to use, I'm just gonna go back to the good old Kraft Parmesan and call it good. So you can see that if I didn't stir this, we would have an issue. But it is starting to bubble up nicely on the sides. 3 to 4 minutes is not very long, and this is just until it thickens. And then whenever it thickens, it'll be good to throw our other ingredients on. Now, again, what that recipe calls for is for double the recipe, it's going to be 2 teaspoons of thyme doubled, so it's going to be 4. And then the 5 cloves of minced garlic is doubled, so I have 10 cloves minced. And if you, I don't know how well this is going to freeze. Things with cream generally don't freeze really well, so I don't know if freezing this is going to be an option, but I honestly don't think that it's going to stick around more than a couple of days. And since there is the 3-day rule, I think we're good to go. All right, so we're simmering nicely now. I would say that's probably a boil, but since I'm constantly stirring it, I'm not too worried about it. And you heard our cuckoo clock. We went to an estate sale a couple of days ago, and I've wanted a cuckoo clock since I went to the Black Forest and saw the cuckoo clocks there, and we found this one for 75 bucks. And I was thrilled that it was so inexpensive, and it works beautifully. And look how nicely this is coming up. So I'm thinking at this point, I'm probably pretty safe to go ahead and throw those noodles in. But because I'm holding a phone with one hand, and because I've never done these noodles, and I don't know whether or not they're gonna bend, or if I'm gonna need to break them, or what's gonna happen with them. I think I wanna do it. I'll finish this sauce and let it sit for a minute while the noodles cook, because it won't take long. So that's what's happening. And here's my simmer. It's still not nearly as thick as I think it should be. Because obviously that's not going to stick to a noodle and be creamy. It's still a little too runny. How's it going, Charlie?
It's definitely snowing out.
Did you cover the uni?
Covered the uni.
Okay, the uni is covered and the snow is coming down, and we're trying to get dinner done so that we can go and run out and see a movie at the local movie venue.
Yeah, it might be questionable.
You think? You don't think they're going to show it? Really? Well, I might have to Netflix or Prime, Amazon Prime or something else tonight then. Do you want to throw the noodles in, or do you want me to do it?
Oh,
Yeah, I kind of figured he's gonna let me do that. That's so nice of him. I'm surprised that you ventured to do the garlic bread by yourself. I said, well, I have the chicken going.
Go way back. Okay?
I said, well, I have the chicken going. Can you do the garlic bread? And he was like, but it was great. And tell me about the pizza dough balls. You were talking about, because we refrigerated the couple of dough balls that we didn't use.
Paper, and they come out real easy.
No, it was in plastic.
Plastic?
Yeah.
Plastic?
Yeah, I put a little olive oil on them and threw them in the fridge in plastic wrap. So you're saying that it was formed up nicely and it came out nicely. How is that? The uni garlic bread? Okay. So here's where we are. That's looking pretty good. And I think by the time the noodles get in there and the chicken, I don't want it to be too thick. So I'm gonna call that good and pull it off of the heat. I'll probably just pull it right here. All right. says stir in. Oh, I think I'm losing my thing here.
Losing what thing?
4 cups of Parmesan, so 2 for each. There's 1.
Are you done with whipping cream?
Yeah, thank you. That's 2 cups. I feel like I should be paying more attention to this because that's a little clumpy. Whenever I get Parmesan from the Kraft Parmesan can, what I typically do, because it tends to be a little bit chunky sometimes, is, here we go. See those chunks? I will generally take a whisk and kind of cram down in there and break that stuff up beforehand. That's a pretty big chunk. So that's what I'm gonna do. Will you stir that for me? The Parmesan or the Alfredo? So while Charlie is stirring that, I'm just breaking up this Parmesan a little bit more. And I can dump in the Parmesan. The garlic. Will you scrape that? Okay.
That's my part.
Oh, okay, thanks. Because he's gonna go wash it. The time?
It's 5:44.
This is a nice thick sauce. I wonder if I overcooked it a little bit. I think maybe, I wasn't thinking in terms of how much that Parmesan was gonna thicken it up. So, but still I can emulsify it with some of the pasta water. I think it's gonna be okay. All right. And then salt and pepper to taste. I like cracked peppercorn. And it must be out already. Oh, right in front of me. It's right in front of me. And I'm gonna have to put you down for this. So, it's a pepper mill. You see it's cracked peppercorn and a pepper mill. And I like a lot of pepper. So, and then I'll throw some salt in there. Probably for this, I'm gonna start with maybe a teaspoon. Let's see how it looks. So I think that looks pretty good. And now for the fun part. Now to try to cook this pasta. All right, this should be interesting. So this little air dryer rack I bought from Amazon. And I know this is gonna be a pain, but I'm gonna turn my vent on here. Okay, just on low, because it's getting a little warm in here. So what I did is as I took them off, they were laying over my hand, and then I just laid them over this. And they should have enough semolina on them. So we use double O flour. Whenever I made the dough, I used double O flour because it's what it called for. Oh, look how pretty. But I watched a video from KitchenAid about cutting the noodles, and semolina is another noodle flour, which I'm sure I could have very easily used for this. It just wasn't the preferred flour for Alfredo, or fettuccine rather. It's a little stuck on there. Here we go. Come on. All right. And I did salt this water beforehand. Okay, it doesn't look tragic, so it looks like it's not sticking and clumping, so that's beautiful. And I'm gonna do probably, I don't know, that's probably half the amount. Let's see how much that's equating to. Yeah, go ahead. Just to see what would happen. We did a couple of nests of noodles. As I was running the noodles through the cutter, Charlie put his hand below mine and caught any of the little extraneous pieces, and there weren't very many, but he made a little nest out of that. That's looking pretty good, guys, I think. So that's probably, by the time the chicken's in there. Oh, you know what I didn't make, Charlie? Guess what I didn't make? I didn't saute any mushrooms to put in here. Bummer. Well, it's gonna take a little bit to get it hot enough. That's looking pretty good. And they're not sticking. Beautiful. All right, so, I don't know, I don't want to use up my, without knowing exactly how much this is, because one recipe calls for 14 ounces, and I have zero clue other than the fact that I use 3 cups of flour, and obviously that's a pound and a half, so I don't know if I'd be safe to do a couple of these or not. I see how the little nests, see how that's kind of twisted?
Did you leave the grill going?
I didn't, I turned it off. And I turned off the gas underneath. So I think I'm liking the pasta drier because they went in nicely, they weren't sticking together. The nest is a little twisted up, so I don't think that would be my favorite. Now, if I were to store this, I believe that this would need to sit out for 2 or 3 days to dry until it's nice and brittle and then be stored. So I'm thinking that's something I would put in a tall canister as opposed to try to bag it. So this is not taking very long at all. Those look beautiful. Alfredo, still nicely done. Okay. So I guess just waiting on the noodles here. Do you want to test it, Charlie?
Not yet.
I don't know. These look pretty al dente already. I can see the semolina on the outside, and I don't know if I finished my thought process. Semolina is used for other pastas, and double O was called for this. But the lady that I watched the video on who was cutting the pasta was using semolina to dust it. And I would recommend that because double O is really fine flour, as if it's been sifted. And semolina is more like a cornmeal texture. So when it came to dusting it to make sure that the noodles could go through and be cut without sticking to the press or the cutter, the semolina was wonderful. So I'm thinking for pasta, different pastas, you know, egg noodles or whatever, that would be kind of an interesting thing to use and just feel the texture and see how the texture firms up, because double O flour, if you've ever made pizza crust, double O flour is super sticky. I mean, super sticky, like snotty sticky. And you're constantly adding more flour to try to get it to not be so sticky. But the benefit is it's really nice and stretchy. So whenever you're trying to get loft to your pizza crust, it makes these nice air bubbles. And will you try this, please? I know it's hot.
How
Done?
long? No, not yet.
Not, okay. I know we've got to be getting really close. How's it taste?
Good.
Is
It's
it,
not done yet.
okay,
It's still a little,
floury?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. It's like whenever you're making gravy. I don't know if you've ever made gravy just from the drippings from meat, but if you thin down the gravy in water, or I'm sorry, I'm watching this and trying to talk at the same time about something that's different. But if you thin down the flour in the water and then put it in your boiling broth, you know, your pan drippings, if you don't cook it long enough, it tastes floury. So I can absolutely see with this being fresh and not processed, meaning I don't know what else they do before they package it at the store. Then maybe cooking the noodles to get that flour taste out is a little more necessary, if that made any sense. I knew what I was talking about, whether you do or not. Sorry. Do you want to try it again? Because this is getting really thick and I don't want to overcook it. And I only have 2 hands and one is holding the phone. I'll be my taste tester again.
The dogs will.
Okay, pick a noodle, any noodle. I know,
It's
oh
gonna
my
be
God, it's
hot.
gonna be hot. You okay?
It's done.
I'll hold it if
It's done.
you think,
Yeah.
because it feels it.
Feel it.
Well, taste it and let me know. Because I didn't add them all at once. They were in varying stages.
Another minute wouldn't hurt, but
Okay. Well, does it taste floury?
a little bit.
Okay. Well, we want to cook it past that. Of course, you know what? Maybe I need to get my own feeling here about this. It's super hot. Oh my God. That's so good. It's done. It's al dente. Oh my gosh. You know what it reminds me of? Homemade chicken noodle soup with those just yummy thick noodles. That's what it tastes like. Or trying to think when I've had that noodle taste before.
Tastes like
Man, that's good.
tastes like the noodles out of chicken noodle soup recipe.
Yeah.
Sue's recipe.
Okay, guys. Well, I'm going to drain these noodles and probably thin that sauce a little bit. And I'll take some screenshots of the bowls and let you see what the final product look like. And we'll get back to you.